Good evening, my name is Garrett, and welcome to The Last Call. On tonight's Versus, we have 1792 small batch Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey coming in at a 46.85% ABV, at least 2 years old, versus Wolcott Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey coming in at a 45% ABV, at least 2 years old. So, most people know of 1792 small batch. It's a fairly common bottle in most markets. It comes and goes here in Indiana. This one you may or may not be familiar with, and it tends to be one of those Total Wine Spirit Direct brands. Now, this is actually sourced from 1792, the same distillery. So the question is it worth grabbing the Wolcott over 1792 if you can't find this? And if you go to Total Wine right now, you're going to see tons of bottles promoting, distilled by 1792 and kind of giving that a big prop. But the question is, if it's that good, wouldn't they hold on to it for themselves instead of selling it off? I don't know. But I can't tell you the last time I seen any of the full proof or any of the other bottlings that 1792 does. They go so quick. The one time I seen a full proof, it literally hit the shelf. I turned around to grab it and it was gone. However, the Wolcott actually has done a bottled in bond and a Rick House, which is like a high ABV version as well, like 60% ABV. So I'm curious, at least on the intro level, how well do these two compare? So let's find out today. As always, we're going to be talking about color, talk about notes, taste, and wrap up on a market price section and pick a winner. So let's get into things. And as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of good stuff. If you are interested in the full reviews when they are live, those will be linked up above and down below. But I've been trying to do more AB comparisons on some of the harder to find bottles because right now, it's still a very weird market for bourbon. Some bottles in some areas you can find it's pouring out. Others, not so much. And again, 1792 for Indiana finally started coming back here. For a while, we couldn't even get the small batch. But nowadays, I can actually go to like my CVS and pharmacy, and that's where I picked up this one actually. But both of these are relatively inexpensive in that budget-friendly area. So I'm really curious. So they are strikingly close. If anything, the 1792 is a little bit darker. Not by much. But there is, okay, now that I'm looking at it, it's got a few shades darker. I'll take that back. It is a little bit darker on there, but not by much. All right, let's start on notes for the small batch. Always like this one. I don't know why people don't talk about this more in the budget-friendly area. Very sweet. A little bit of apple, beautiful caramel oak, vanilla, very classic Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Nice little barrel spice going on as well. No ABV, nothing harsh, no off notes. But that fruit sweet layer for me, it's almost like, I'm not going to say it's tart as a Granny Smith apple, but it's got a little bit of tartness for me today at least. A little bit of rye spice showing up. Getting almost, my nose is wanting to say almost a potpourri. That caramel is playing around with that rye note. Yeah, a little bit of a floral potpourri note. Actually very nice. Don't mind this one at all. And again, at a little bit higher ABV at the 46.85. Sorry, don't want to offend anybody. But very classic, but the big thing for me is it gets a little sweeter tart with that bit of apple in there. All right, let's go for notes on the Wolcott. Oh my gosh, that is a night and day difference. This is transparent. Whoa, hold on here. I'm going to try to reset my nose here. Hold on. No, it is very transparent. Which means, for me, man, I don't remember it being this big of a difference. When I did my review on this, I thought, oh yeah, it's got the classic notes. But this dominates, at least on the nose. Like, I'm starting to get a little bit of a oak and a little bit of sweetness in there, but it is significantly different. Not that it's bad, it's just very transparent, especially, ironically, right next to the same product. Now, yes, there are some probably differences on things, especially age, but there's no off notes. There's nothing metallic or ethanol forward. A little bit of sweetness, a little bit of spice in there as well. A little bit of oak is starting to show up, but I really don't get a lot of characteristics at all. It is very transparent sitting next to this small batch here, which is kind of unfortunate because already on the nose, I mean, it's the 1792. Spanks it. Yeah. As soon as you go back here, it's just got beautiful layers going on. And even more potpourri for me today for some reason. All right, let's go for taste on the small batch. Ooh, got some warmth on there. Wow. Definitely has a bit of bite to her. The tartness from the apple is coming across. Mixed in there with that spice layer from the rye, and the cask itself is actually bringing a little bit of spice as well. Nice solid oak layer going on the taste. Caramel, vanilla, and ethanol. I am getting definitely a warmth on the palate. It's got a decent mouthfeel on there, but it is very, very simple. And again, we're in that budget-friendly territory, so it's not totally unexpected, but there's not a lot of complexity to this one. You get very classic Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey notes, vanilla, caramel, oak, that little bit of tartness in there from the apple, and there is that ethanol layer playing on my palate right now. So it does have a bit of youth on the taste. A little grain in there as well. It's kind of corn forward, a little dusty, sweet corn notes going on there. Not that it's bad, but I can kind of see why now going back to this one, especially after my adventures through whiskey in general, why you don't really hear too much about this one. But it's still not bad. Like, even on my third sip, this is an easy daily drinker. If you're not looking for a lot of complexity, looking to keep it simple, it's good. And again, you get that little bit higher ABV than a lot of them have out there, but it's a really solid sip. All right, let's go for a sip on the Wolcott. Actually, the taste is very similar. Has probably a little bit more of youth to it, but surprisingly doesn't have the ABV bite that I was just getting. Now, I could have maybe have acclimated to this one, so it doesn't bring it across necessarily. But it actually comes across very simple. It is missing out on that little bit of that fruit layer the small batch has. So it doesn't have quite as much of that apple tartness going on. Though, this ain't half bad. It's got a bit more youth on the taste. If anything, this has the more ethanol bite, or this has more youth. Tastes a little younger, and you do get a bit more of that sweet corn going on. Still has the oak, vanilla, caramels in there, but not really any other complexities going on. It's very simple. Nothing crazy going on. It's not a bad daily drinker, but probably after trying both of these, yet again, I'm gonna have to lean on the 1792. It just doesn't have the complexity that you're wanting. A little bit more sweetness from it, and get rid of that little bit of youth. For me, I'd rather have a little bit more ABV burn than that youth taste in there, but as always, it doesn't matter what you drink or how you drink it, as long as you enjoy it. It's okay at best. All right, let's talk about market price and pick a winner here, because we all know market price is market price, and it's always going to vary. So in my market, I can pick this up for about $28.99 from Total Wine. This is $29.99 from Total Wine. Now, at the time I bought this, I actually got it for like $5 off, I want to say, so I only paid $25 for this. But honestly, if these are both on the shelf at almost identical pricing, especially if this is a little bit cheaper, get the small batch. The small batch just has so much more character to it. Yes, you get a little bit more ABV, but even if you take that out of the way, the flavor this one brings across beautifully compared to here. Yes, this has a little bit more ABV warmth to it for me, but this just has a bit more youth on the taste. And after comparing the colors, I kind of expected that. Now, when you boil it down, $28 to $30, get the small batch. Even if this is $25 and this is $28, that's a $3 difference. Get this. It's definitely worth it for that $3 more. Not really much of a reason to grab this unless you really need to save $1. Or again, if it's really discounted on sale at, I'd say $20-ish, okay, that ain't half bad. It's okay at that price point. But honestly, just go with the small batch. So yeah, there you have it, folks. 1792 small batch Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey and Wolcott Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. If you have any questions about either bottle, go and let me know down in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer it. And if you have any A/B comparisons I should do, also let me know down below. I love doing these. It helps me learn, helps you make a smart decision at home. And as always, may your last drink of the night be the best one.
You know, and I really like it might